And to make matters worse, Matheus Pereira, who's undoubtedly Cruzeiro's most technically gifted player, he has their number 10 shirt. He has this vision of football that's like clearly like different than what you would see. Like I'm putting up some of his highlights so we can kind of see this here.
Is he like high IQ or is he just like very intuitive? Like
He's high IQ. Like he has vision. Like he can make these passes on the field that it's like, oh damn, like I didn't even see that guy was running. Like he leads players to where they should be by putting the ball there.
like Jokic.
Like yes, yeah, kind of like Jokic with that vision. He also has good like technical like dribbling ability. Like he is kind of like a Jokic. He's small, so it's not like he's
Right. It's not for one for one.
Maybe
Yeah.
like a Luka, let's say.
Oh, okay.
Where like he's got vision offensively, he's a difference maker, but he's not gonna really help you out on defense. Anyways, like he's a mercurial player, but on top of this, he was a childhood Cruzeiro fan. He came to the club with that story. Like he released an article on Players Tribune about how he was dealing with depression in Saudi Arabia where he was playing before, or I guess he was playing in UAE before,
right?
And how like coming to Cruzeiro like helped change his outlook on life. After dealing with
That's
depression,
awesome.
after dealing with what he dealt with. And it's funny, he's from Valadares too. Like
Oh, nice.
I think he was born in Belo Horizonte, but then his family moved to Valadares when he was really young. And then when he was around 13, his family moved to Portugal. So he grew up in Portugal. And you can see, like, when he does interviews, like, he talks kind of Portuguese-ish. Not like Portuguese accent, but the way he formulates sentences and the way he like, structures his thoughts, I think, sound not somebody who grew up in Brazil kind of.
Right. Also, he's got that star power. Like
Star power, yeah.
some people, like they could be good, but they just don't have that like personality, that like oomph, that it factor. So I feel like that is something worth mentioning. Like he can be the face of a franchise.
He can be, but here's the thing, and I relate to him. Like he seems like a very smart, grounded guy. Like he's not like that stereotypical like dumb jock football player. Like he definitely does seem like he's been through stuff, and he like has taken the steps to like help himself or improve, right? Like
Nice.
whether it's seeking out help or books or whatever, right? So I relate with that. Like I fuck with that vibe.
Nice.
Sure. But
I relate with that.
he's been saying recently some like real out of pocket shit. Like it's kind of like why, brother? Like after the first preseason game, Cruzeiro was playing in the States, and this reporter was like asking him a line of questioning, like, "Oh, like, are you happy at the club? Like, what's your status? Like, how's it going?" And he's kind of like, "Oh, we never know what tomorrow holds in store for us." Like I understand.
Cryptic.
Yeah, very cryptic, very cryptic. And at the end of the conversation, like the reporter's like, "Well, where's your head at? Like, is your head with the team this season?" And he kind of like chuckled and just walked away. And it's kind of like, the fuck?
Ruh-roh.
That's number one. Or number two, when he said on multiple occasions in interviews, pregame and postgame, that he wants to raise his family in Europe. Like, he has a son, his wife is pregnant, his son is about to be born. He wants to raise his family in Europe. Or when he said multiple times again that he wishes he had found an offer to leave to Europe during this transfer window or previously. And when he said, like, kind of repeated that they had offers in Brazil and they had offers and he wanted to stay in Cruzeiro, and now he kind of like wishes he had run that back.
Okay.
Or when his agents just a few days ago brought Cruzeiro an offer from a Russian club called Zenit days before the transfer deadline. And then he and the club both accepted the offer from Zenit, but then he couldn't get like the medicals and the paperwork done in time. So it's kind of like he made it very clear
he wants out
to leave. And now he's here still. Like he's
True.
Still on the team.
Awkward. Yeah.
Plus, he's been acting super sus in the media, like, and really, like, as I said, making it clear, I don't want to be here. I wish I was somewhere else, specifically Europe. Don't get me wrong. Matheus Pereira, he is a truly special player. Like I said, the vision, the passing skills, he's a difference maker. He's 100% a difference maker. And with his story of being Cruzeirense growing up, being born in BH, living in Valadares, he had all the makings of being a club legend. Like, he came in at one of the club's like lowest moments in the second division. He was one of the instrumental pieces in getting Cruzeiro back to the first division. he had the makings of a club legend. And usually you put up with this kind of shit from a truly great player, right? Like LeBron, Cristiano Ronaldo, they own their teams. They basically run their franchises and whatever, right? Wherever they go, they run it, right? And I mean, I still hope he comes back from this, right? Like, I still hope Matheus Pereira is at Cruzeiro now, plays great, like totally dedicated, writes history. Like, they have the team for it. He is a key piece. He does have the skills to do that. But something is amiss. Like, something's going on. Whether it's like, I mean, I don't know what it is. Here's what I think happened, right? And I have some sources inside the team and outside the team, but piecing it all together, we can kind of talk like more in detail. But what I think happened was he signed on when it was Ronaldo, a different ownership group with a tighter purse strings. I think he feels like he took a lower salary to come to Cruzeiro to help out the team. Right? Like, he was still getting paid a lot of money, but like he, in his mind, well, I took lower than I could have got somewhere else because I wanted to facilitate this for you guys at the time, blah, blah, blah.
Go to my childhood team, be a hero, bring them out of the second division.
Exactly. But then he sees this billionaire owner come in and splash money and start like just throwing it around to other players. While he could definitely be making more in Europe and he wants to go live there, right? Apparently his family doesn't actually live in Brazil, so it's kind of like he doesn't have help to raise his child. I get that.
Right, because he grew up in Portugal.
Yeah. I mean, he has the money to hire the help, but I get what you mean.
It's not the same.
I get that. Get your money, live the life you want, brother. Like, you know, if it's a contract negotiation thing, yeah, go for it, you know? But dropping these hints or mind games, like, whatever they are, just go talk to management, man. Go tell them, hey, man, I signed a contract thinking that was your ceiling, and now I see the pie is much bigger, so I want my slice to reflect my, you know, my contributions. Go, be direct, like, you know, or tell your agent to do that, right?
Right, tell your agent, but like this is the people that announced in the media that the guy was fired and then walked that back. Like they've proven they're not adults. They've proven that they can't.
Yes.
Handle that.
I get it. And so that may be why he's like, you know what, my only recourse right now is to go, like, you know, is to go public with this. But
yeah,
I guess what he's doing is not just telling the team, like, it's showing the fans, like, I do not want to be here, right? And sending that message to the fans, Matheus Pereira, sending that message to the fans that you don't want to be here is fucked up, man. It's fucked up, man. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, but like I see it as like he came to the team, went at the lowest. He brought them out of the second division, went like that's the first time they've ever gone to the second division in the history of the franchise. And like not only like sometimes teams will go to the second division, they'll win right away and they'll come back. They were stuck there. I feel like he is a legend. He has cemented himself. And like if you've ever worked somewhere and like your favorite manager or your best friend leaves, and then you're like, man, I don't want to work here anymore. This environment sucks. Like I respect it. Like go back to Europe. Like go get your money. Like you've done your part. I respect it.
I agree.
I respect you, Matheus Pereira.
I respect Matheus Pereira as well. Like that's where I'm coming from. Like I'm not saying he's wrong in what he's trying to go after. I just think he could have done it in a way that would have endeared him to the fans. And honestly, he could have done it in a way that the fans would be fighting that fight for him.
Right.
If instead of dropping these cryptic like, oh, well, we don't know what tomorrow holds, or saying straight up, I wish I was in Europe. Like instead of saying that, be like, telling the fans like, yo, look at this, like I signed a contract to help the team and now they're spending all this cash, like, you know, like I don't think that's fair. I think ownership should have a real discussion with me about my salary. Like I don't have the help to raise my child. Like I need that help to raise my child. Like it's either my family is in Europe or I need like a better stability. Like he could have played it in a way where the fans are like, you know what?
That's fair.
Right. That's
fair.
Like,
yeah.
what
Like
the fuck, management, you guys are
give him his
the
money.
star.
Yeah.
Like, but he didn't. He's like antagonizing himself with the fans as well.
Yeah.
And kind of like, he's kind of like the club, putting the club in a position to kind of like protect him from the fans, where like he's putting his face out there and like the club is kind of like, oh no, don't worry, like No,
Right.
don't
He
do that, you know?
could have like rallied the fans against the club to
Exactly.
like, oh guys, you're mistreating this guy that like,
That is a fucking legend. Like, I
yeah,
think you're right. He has that. That's what I'm saying. He has the makings of being a legend. I wouldn't consider him a legend because, one,
he's doing
he
this.
hasn't. Well, yes, he hasn't won anything like major with the team. And two, yes, he's doing this. You lose all legend status if you haven't won things and you're trying to leave on like on bad terms, kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. This is, as I said, something you put up with from great mercurial players. If he was playing well, it wouldn't even be an issue, right? The problem is he's not playing well. And then the message he's sending while not playing well is alienating him further from the fans. Feel me?
Yeah.
And it's funny. You've been to St. Petersburg or no?
Yeah.
And you've spent some time in Belo Horizonte.
Mm-hmm.
Which two cities, like of the two cities, which is a preferable city? Which is a better city to live in?
Oof. I mean, they're so different. Like Belo Horizonte is really like dense and like it's definitely like a better Brazilian city, but like St. Petersburg is like this like it's kind of more not as dense obviously. I mean, I wouldn't want to live there cuz it would be cold as balls, like
Yeah.
the super cold, but it is beautiful. It's like European like
I'm sure it's a
but
great city. One thing that I would think, one is the cold. Like two is like if you're rich and you're making euros, like I don't know if it makes I guess so much of a difference, but like you could stretch that really far in Brazil. I don't know how far you could stretch it in Russia.
yeah.
Three, I'm pretty sure there's some Russian fans that are known for being like super racist and
Mm,
homophobic. It's not all of them, but I'm saying like
mhm.
those the ultras, right? Like
Right, right, right.
Cruzeiro fans are annoying as shit. Like the fact that they're picking on this guy, they're calling him Chicletinho because he likes to chew gum while he plays. Like Cruzeiro fans are little whiny bitches, honestly.
Mhm.
And I guess it kind of makes sense because he's also a Cruzeiro fan, so like
So he's
makes
being a
sense that
whiny
he's a
bitch.
whiny bitch as
Yeah.
well. Like we're all whiny bitches. Like,
Yeah.
but like and I've even heard a story like from somebody, as I said, like my sources in the club that um, Cruzeiro was playing badly. They're going through like a rough stretch, and the torcida organizada, which is like the supporters group, like kind of like
Mhm.
the ultras, right? Like
Yeah.
Brazils are violent. They're homophobic. They're not usually racist like that unless you're like in the south. But anyways, whatever. They went to Cruzeiro's like training grounds to like protest, be like, "Yo, what the fuck, guys? Like, we need you to play better football." And this dude, Matheus Pereira, who's like, I don't know, 5'9" with 2-inch cleats on,
Mhm.
walked up to them, no security, and was like, finger in the face, like, "You motherfuckers, you don't have anything better to do? Like, you see me going to your job and fucking bothering you? Like, you think we're
Uh-huh.
out here trying to lose? Like, we're all trying our best, bro. Like, we're trying to win here." Like, again, I don't know exactly the word, but I got that
Right.
message from my sources. Like, this guy, like, peitou eles. Like, he stood up to them. Like, where a
Uh-huh.
lot of players would be like, "Yeah, we're working on it. We're getting there." This dude went up and was like, "Fuck out of here, man.
Yeah.
Who the fuck are you to come to my workplace and tell me like A,
Mhm.
B, C, D, like how to do my job? I don't do that shit. Relax." So
Uh-huh.
that made me respect him even more. You know.
Uh-huh.
I also heard this story of there's this guy Rafa Silva, and in a game where Cruzeiro like really needed a win, they were playing against one of like the lower sides, like they're I guess Atlético Paranaense, which was like 17th, 18th at the time. So it was like, okay, a relatively easy win. With Within 3 seconds of being in the game, this dude elbows another player in the face and gets a red card. Like, why? Like, that's such a dumb move that puts your team like on the back foot, right? Like you fucked your team over basically,
Mhm.
right? And so understandably, like I understand it from a player position. It's like, bro, I'm hungry. We're out here. We're trying to win. Like he didn't. I mean, you could make the argument, especially with like all the betting apps now and like the scandals of like players throwing games. You could make the argument of like, well, it did seem pretty sus. Like it did look like you try to force that red card, but
Right.
whatever. Apparently, at halftime, the CEO of Cruzeiro, not the owner, but the GM, let's say,
Mhm.
comes into the locker room and he's yelling and he's cursing and he's called this guy aside and called him all sorts of names. How he's like a dumbass and he whatever, right? Like laid into him. And apparently some players were just not happy about that whatsoever and stood up for the guy and were like, you can't talk to us that way, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm almost certain one of those players, if not the main player leading that charge, was Matheus Pereira. Outspoken, owns the team kind of vibe, like, yo, you can't talk to us like that. Like, yo, fucking respect. And I'm sure he wasn't in the wrong. I'm just saying, like, here's another situation of where like a locker room division, you know, and showing kind of like what you said. Management has already kind of shown him multiple times like they're not trustworthy or they're not people that he would deposit his faith in.
Right.
So I can understand that happening, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I support him. Like, I feel you where like there's definitely better, more strategic ways to go about it. But also like when you have just been like chipped away at, like, and you're just like emotional and like pissed, like I can understand why he would be like, yo, I don't care. Like, this is just how I feel. Like, I'm acting this way. I just want out. I don't even care anymore. I don't even want to go to another Brazilian team. I want to go to Europe where my family is. I mean, I would definitely recommend go to Portugal or Spain or wherever. Not even like Italy, like not even like the Premier League because that's cold and rainy. Definitely not Russia because that's cold AF.
And Russia, like for all intents and purposes, like geographically sure, but for all intents and purposes, it's not Europe. Like
Yeah,
they're not in the EU. They don't use the euro. Like soccer, like football wise, they don't play in the Champions League. They don't play in
yeah.
the UEFA
They're
competition.
super off to the east.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's not what you would consider necessarily Europe when you say I want to go live in Europe. Like
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
France, Spain, England.
For sure. Yeah.
He did play for West Brom, which is a Premier League team at one point, and he played in the Premier League. And I noticed him back then. I was like, damn, who's this like little like atomic ant in the midfield here? Like he'll just show up every now and then. I never imagined he was Cruzeirense or could end up at Cruzeiro, but here he is, and it's clear like he's a differentiated sort of player. Like he's
That's
not
nice.
just a random dude. Like I said, he's in a way a lot like a Luka, where it's like he can make a difference, but it's kind of like.
But he needs pieces around him
He
too.
needs the pieces around him, and there are questions. Like he's not that like out and out leader, you know. He's mercurial. He speaks his mind. Clearly, he's upset like about the situation, and I just wish, and part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast, like, I wish people would see it like a different way. Like, people see players and they just like they get this one view of players and they're like, boom, that's it. Like, a 19-year-old, if he's in his first 5 professional games, if he's not playing like fucking the next Neymar, he's garbage. That's not how human beings work, you know. And like I said, this is why I think it's important to have this space, because like Matheus Pereira is a human. Like, do I think he's making mistakes in how he's going about communicating this stuff? Sure. Nobody's perfect though, right? Like, I think what I want to show, or what I would hope that people kind of understand from this, is like things don't happen in a vacuum. Like, he's upset, and he's clearly somebody who is figuring out how to deal with his emotions and like how he feels, right? And it seems like he wears his heart on his sleeve, which I really respect as a person, like as a player. He's not one of those players who's like, you know, media trained and is just going to give you like bare bones answers. Like, no, he shows passion. Like he you know, like myself, like he's the kind of guy who's like, no, I can't just clock in and clock out. Like, I need to be invested in where we're at, right?
Yeah.
And I wish people would kind of see that. Like, dude, he's not like, yes, he's going about it the wrong way. Matheus Pereira, you know, let's talk. Like, there could be better ways for you to do this. I think that you get exactly what you want, and you get the fans to fight that battle for you. You're not wrong, brother. Like, go get your money. Go guarantee your family's like livelihood and happiness. But more than anything, I want you to be happy, man. Wherever you are right now, you're in Cruzeiro, so let's be happy, bro. Like, help us see that you're a human being. Help us see that like you're one of us. You know, you're going through it. You wish you want to raise your family in Europe. Everybody will understand that rationally. But now you're talking about not wanting to be at our club. It's harder. It takes a certain level of maturity that the average fan just doesn't have, unfortunately, right? A lot of fans, their whole identity is tied into being a fan of this club.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, those kind of people who don't have jobs, who can on a Thursday morning or Tuesday afternoon be at a professional team's practice facility to like protest against the players, like that's their livelihood, dog. Like, and you're messing with their livelihood, you know?
Yeah.
Even if you consider them bums, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. You know, Cruzeiro is dealing with some transfer drama. Usually that transfer drama or that drama stirred up in Cruzeiro is stirred up by the press. We talked about it. Like, they're owned by Atleticanos, specifically like Itatiaia, which is kind of the biggest press outlet other than Globo.
Mm-hmm.
But this time it doesn't seem like it's something that they're stirring up. It seems something real. Like, as much as I love him and I think he's right, it seems like, or no, he is bringing this upon himself. Like,
Right.
he has problems and he could deal with it in a specific way, but he's bringing a lot of unwarranted like hatred.
Right.
To the point where like in one game he got booed by some of the fans. You know, where people are kind of like tired of that. Like, yo, like not only are you playing shit, but you also like making it clear in any situation that you have a microphone in your face, you're saying that you don't want to be here. Like, that's where it is. Like, if you're playing like shit, but you're like, guys, I don't know what's going on. I'm not feeling great. You know, my kid's about to be born. I'm dealing with issues. Any human being is gonna understand that and be like, you know what, brother, we're with you. Like, Cruzeiro had a player, Montijo, back in the day, who was to me an idol, even though he never really won anything expressive. But this he had a son with Down syndrome and multiple special needs. This dude's son was in the ICU, like dangerously close to death, and this dude was playing for Cruzeiro. He's out there on the field. He scored 2 goals, I believe, in that game, and like celebrated with like by taking off his shirt and is like Papa loves you, Santi. Like those sorts of players, like I think everyone would have been like, yo, totally fine if you don't want to play. But like, the fact is like, no, I will. Like, I'm here. I'm not gonna let you guys down. Like, those sorts of player, he could play like probably 50 years shit, and he would still be loved by the team, because that's what I think. Like, especially Cruzeiro fans, like they value that. Like, players who show like what we call raça, like hustle, like grit, like determination, and also who show that they want to be here, right? Like, that's what endeared me to Diniz after that interview where he's like, nah, they didn't fire me.
Right.
It's like, brother showed that he wants to be here. Like,
yeah,
it would have been easier to just be like, nah, all right, fuck that shit. Like, these guys don't want me, fuck them. But he's like, no, I'm here. I'm still here. I want to be here. Y'all can't get rid of me that easy.
Yeah.
Matheus Pereira is here, and like, he's kind of like, I wish I wasn't though. Like, you know, I wish I was in Europe.
Right.
And on top of that, he's not playing well. So it's kind of like, well, are you not playing well because you're forcing your way out of Europe, or like, are you trying to force your way out of Europe because you're not playing well, or are you not playing well and trying to get to Europe for a bigger thing? That's what I think, because you don't have faith in like the leadership, and you've tried talking to them, and it for whatever reason doesn't work. I'd love to have a conversation in earnest, like.
Yeah.
Understand what's happening here. I think I already do. Like,
do you think he's not playing well because, like, you know, his heart's not in it and it's just like things aren't clicking, like there's just too much going on? Or do you think he's not playing well on purpose so that he gets a way out?
No, I think it's more so the former. Like, I think things are just not clicking and his heart's not really in it. And again, like, you can only work so hard, you know, after multiple times of you going to your boss or your management and you know, asking and talking and trying to change things. Eventually you see, oh wait, things are not going to change. All right, cool. Then if you're going to be looking out for y'all, then I'm going to be looking out for me.
Yeah. Like, if you're steering the ship into an iceberg, I'm going to get off.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. And as an adult, I can totally understand and relate to that. So I get it, you know, I get it.
yeah.
But the thing is, like, this is football, and there's fans involved. Like, what he's doing is alienating both. And I think what could happen is just alienate just one of them. And like I said, you can even get the other ones to fight your fights for you, you know?
Yeah. So how do you see this season playing out? Like, the season starts March 28th, right? The transfer window is about halfway through in like June. How do you see it happening?
So, like, Cruzeiro is one of the kind of, I would say, contenders for Libertadores, not for the title, but you know, new coach, just spend a bunch of money, have some relevant players. they haven't been able to like make it click necessarily, but the team is there, the pieces are there. If they can make it actually work, then I think they have one of the strongest like teams
on paper,
right?
yeah.
But today is the semifinals, like I said, the second leg, and it's happening right now. And Cruzeiro needs a win this Saturday, needs a win today to reach the finals. And if they don't reach the finals, it's definitely going to be a disappointment. Like America is a second division team, like, you know, they're
the little brother, yeah.
Exactly. If Cruzeiro doesn't make the finals, they won't have a game until March 30th. That's like a month and some days, right?
A month and a week.
It'll be great for the new coach because he'll have like a training camp of sorts.
Uh-huh.
But for the fans, like, it's just gonna be a month and a week of speculation, hating on Matheus Pereira.
Yeah, of being frustrated, like living with that loss to like the little brother of the state. Yeah.
When with their best player who clearly does not want to be here.
Yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, it's kind of disrespecting the team, you know?
Yeah.
So it would be a disappointment. And that would be, you know, terrible for the fans, I feel like. I think the season can go well. I think Cruzeiro has what it takes, especially, like, you know, this is probably their new coach's now second week on the job. So we'll see how the game goes today. They have what it takes to beat America. They just, for whatever reason, they can't put it together in the final third. Like, they haven't been able to make just, like, beautiful kind of football happen as much as they would like to, you know? Oh, here's the game kind of happening live. That's a way to get your stream taken down, innit?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I do believe the team can be one of the stronger teams in the season. I do think they could be even title contenders, but a lot of things have to go right, and that's what we're seeing. Like, there's a lot of egos. There's a lot of like management of those egos when you're on a soccer team or when you're on any team in general. Now you add sports to it, where there's like discrepancies in salaries. There's like media, you know, hype and following and blah blah blah, and you know, you add in all of those things, like it adds up. Like it impacts the environment in which you can play. And I think what complicates matters even further for Cruzeiro is, like, not only do they have the egos in the locker room, their GM has a huge ego himself. He is one of those like brash guys, and like, you know, he had been a Cruzeiro GM before. He led Cruzeiro to like one of their top, like their back-to-back season championship 2013-14. He built this squad, which was like a really strong and deep squad, like cheaply. Like, not that he didn't just go and splash cash and buy the most expensive players. Like, he actually built a squad of like underdogs and misfits and like castaways from different teams and a few like players who are like over the hill of their career, and put together a squad, like a legit team that won back-to-back championships. Like, it's hard enough to win one championship. They won literally back-to-back, right?
True. And that was in 2016?
13-14.
Okay.
And Cruzeiro also 18-19, they won back-to-back Copa do Brasil. So, like, in its recent history, they have been very, like, popular, you know, like, very, you know, have done very well, let's say. So the season has everything to work, like, has everything to go well. But I think Cruzeiro's management needs to get out of their own way. They need to understand that, like, leadership is here to serve the people you're leading, right? It's not to, you know, Alexandre Matos, who's the GM, like, it's not for him to like pound his chest and say, you do what I want, you'll respect Cruzeiro the institution because I'm gonna yell really loud until you do. Like, I appreciate the preaching respect, but it's like, you know, respect that these are players, right? Respect that these are adults at the end of the day. I think that's what Matheus Pereira's point was in terms of, like, you know, that locker room kerfuffle, let's say. It's like, you can't talk to us that way. We're not fucking kids, you know? Same thing, like management. There is another way of getting your message across, of building team cohesion, of saying, hey, guys, we're all in this together, brother. Like, I know that was probably like a heat of the moment thing, super irresponsible. You fucked us, but like, I know you're trying to like you're trying your best. Like let's
Yeah.
everybody not make that happen again,
Yeah.
please.
Respect is earned, not demanded.
Exactly. And so if Cruzeiro doesn't watch that, doesn't take like the steps to take care of that, not only like the player egos, but also the management egos plus the ownership egos. The thing with ownership egos, like it's not going anywhere. And I just think like if Cruzeiro's winning, like I don't think the owner, if Cruzeiro's winning, I don't think the owner is gonna be like super like into the day to day and like wanting to have his say. He's just gonna say, look, I built this team, now you guys go and fucking run it. I've
Right.
put the pieces in there.
Yeah.
So I think they have everything to like really make a statement this season, but for whatever reason, they haven't been able to put it together. And I think there's still some work that needs to be done in the bastidores, like the behind the scenes,
Mm.
like understanding how to really manage those egos in a way that gets people to buy into your vision, to appreciate, accept, and understand your vision, to make your vision their vision. As
Hmm.
you said, respect is earned. It's not demanded.
Yeah.
It's not
Do you
yelled.
think so? They finished ninth.
Yeah.
Do you think? What do you think is like in the cards for them? Like the top three is get Libertadores guaranteed, right?
Top four. Yeah.
Top four. Do you think they're gonna get that, or do you think they're gonna be in the qualifiers for Libertadores?
Like the optimist in me would like to say yes, they can be one of the top four teams. I think on paper they do have a very strong squad, but the squad hasn't like shown anything that like any reason for that sort of level of optimism. I believe they're going to be a top of the table club, like, top 8 or 10. I believe they have what it takes to win the Sul-Americana this year because again, they're one of the better teams on paper and otherwise. Like it's the second tier continental championship.
Hmm.
Um, and I do believe like anywhere from like really first to like seventh, eighth wouldn't really be surprising for either Cruzeiro or the fans. Like it's the first season. There's a lot that needs to go right for things to go right. You know,
Hmm.
if I had to make a prediction right now, like I would say like a top five finish is
Okay.
definitely reasonable.
Nice.
And I think making the Libertadores one way or another is a priority for the team. Like if they don't make the Libertadores, like last year it was already a disappointment of sorts to not make the Libertadores, but this year will be even more so, right? Like if they
Mm.
don't either win the Brazilian Cup or win the South American Cup or qualify through the championship, then it's kind of going to be we're going to see a lot of changes, right? Like heads rolling, whether that's coaching heads or player heads or
Hmm.
CEO of the team head, like heads
Right.
will roll. Like changes will be demanded both from fans and from the billionaire owner.
What do you think happens with Matheus Pereira? Do you think he like plays good, or do you think he gets traded, or do you think he stays for the rest of for the whole year?
Good question, brother. I think I think he's on his way out. Like he wants to
Hmm.
leave. His son is about to be born. The next time he can leave is the mid-season transfer window, so it feels like June, July. He's probably on his way out. Now, I would hope that Cruzeiro would only sell him to Europe, and I would
Mm.
hope that they make sure that they get some good money out of that, so
Right.
that they can then rebuild the team around that.
Right.
If he doesn't want to be here, brother, like
We don't want him here.
yeah, it's not even we don't want him here. Like, why would you force him to be here? Like, he's
Yeah.
not gonna play well. Like, his head is somewhere else. Like, right, his head is focused on somewhere else. Now, do
Hmm.
I see a possibility for his child to be born? Maybe his wife's parents come for a while. Maybe his parents come for a while. Like, do I see the possibility of it like going full circle? Absolutely. Of him just being like, you know what, dealing with it, figuring it out. Like,
Hmm.
I see that possibility big time.
If he gets like a big contract or something.
Yeah, maybe the big contract helps. Maybe the just like, okay, now that, imagine, man, you're there, it's just you and your wife and it's your first child and like, you know,
Yeah.
maybe your wife is weighing on you where like, babe, you need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do that. Like his wife, I don't know if she's Brazilian, but clearly she didn't really grow up in Brazil either. So I don't know, maybe she doesn't feel
Mm.
safe. Like maybe X number of
Fair.
things
Yeah.
that just like the husband has to deal with.
Right.
like, and it's kind of like, if my wife doesn't feel happy, then I don't really feel happy, right? Like, I'm not
Right.
really able to give 100% of myself. And I think that compounded with the fact that he's not happy with the team, that he doesn't feel that the team is really showing him or his teammates the respect that he deserves, that's an issue. It's like a
Right.
factor, right?
Right.
I do think winning kind of solves everything. I do think that whether he leaves or not, he has the potential to still make himself like a legend, like a club legend. If he like just goes back to playing really well, if he again like is just more earnest maybe with the crowd. Like I understand that like he kind of is working through things and he's maybe just like thinking out loud and these things, but there's just better ways to go about it that would make the, like as I said, get people on his side and make his point just like a lot more clearer and easy to understand, because it is like rationally he's right, but
Yeah.
emotionally, and soccer is so emotional, sports are so emotional, like cheering for a team is so emotional, right? Like
Hmm.
emotionally he's not hitting, he's hitting all the bad buttons, all the
Mm,
wrong buttons.
true.
But I hope the best. Like I wish him the best. Like I said, since this on a personal level, I like him as a player. Like
Yeah.
I will follow him in his career. I hope he
Yeah.
does well wherever he is, unless he goes to like Atletico or any other Brazilian team.
Right.
Then fuck him. Like, but I
Yeah.
hope he does well. Like I want to see him in Europe and on the Brazilian national team. Like
Yeah.
heck, I want to see him in Cruzeiro winning some championships and
Right.
making the Brazil national team.
Right.
Um, like I said, I relate to him as a person. Like all these, like as I said, being from Valadares, being kind of like a, more like an old soul, kind of like wise beyond his years, someone who clearly like has more up there, right? Like has
Hmm.
some substance
Intelligent.
to his brain and soul,
Yeah.
right? And so,
Right.
I wish him the best. I want to see that kind of player on my club, and I want to see him kind of like lead that charge and have that impact, right? Like he's shown, or hopefully he's seen for himself, he has an impact. Like whatever he says is heard and is and causes waves. So I would hope that he kind of gets the right people around him, to like gets the right people around him to help him like get his
Yeah.
message across in the right
Yeah.
ways, and start building his life the way he wants to, like because he can live a European life here. You want a bigger
Mm,
salary, great brother, sign a 4-year deal. We'll get you a huge salary, we'll get you a
yeah.
house, we'll get all the perks that you need in Belo Horizonte. And otherwise, like, you want to fly, you want a private jet to fly to Europe on breaks, like why not? Neymar did that all the time. Like
Right.
I'm sure they can make
Yeah.
it happen, but you get a lot more flies with honey than with vinegar, and you're
Right.
hella vinegary.
Hmm. True.
True.
Nice.
Nice,
Yeah. Great
brother.
breakdown. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Shall we do it again next week?
Yeah.
Nice.
If hopefully they win and there's more
And
games.
there's more games to. If they win, it's more than likely a game against Atletico in the final, which is like
Oh, geez. The
that's
the
huge.
main rival. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
huge.
that's
Is
huge.
is Atletico guaranteed or who are they playing?
So I don't think they're guaranteed. They're playing, I think, a team called Athletic.
Wow.
Uh, Athletic versus Athletic.
Yeah.
Um, they're not guaranteed. I think they're playing at the same time right now.
Okay.
And oh no, wait, Athletic MG. Let's see. No, maybe they're not playing against Athletic. Oh, they're playing against Tombense. They won the first game 2-0. Second game starts today at 5 p.m.
Mm.
local time.
Hmm.
So, they're all but guaranteed. Tombense is kind of a
Right.
weaker team.
They'd have to
Cruzeiro
lose
beat
like
them.
3-0.
Yeah. Cruzeiro beat them before, like, and that's kind of where everyone expects the Campeonato Mineiro to be, is like Cruzeiro and Atletico in the final, and then who else?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what you expect every like the two best teams every tournament. The two best teams duking it out in the
Well,
championship.
like you just hope that some tournaments have more than two best teams.
Hmm.
Oh, buddy, you want to bet? Oh no, wait. I was gonna say, you want to bet that none of this has been having audio this whole time? Golly.
Oh man, that
Anyways,
would
no,
suck.
but I think it has. Yeah, you want the two best teams, and you know what? That might that is usually how it shakes out. But Cruzeiro needs this. Cruzeiro just lost to Atlético a few games ago, and it was like a pretty convincing win for them, like 2-0 or something. So Cruzeiro, like, beating Atlético to win the championship would be like a kind of like a chip off their shoulder. Like, cool, see, like we're working towards like getting better. You know, it's the first step. It's not like, I don't think it's necessarily a failure if they don't beat Atletico. Like, Atletico's been together longer, blah blah blah. But it is definitely more of a statement if they do win. It's like, cool, okay, look, we take that swagger, we carry it in. The other thing too is like fans and media, they blow things up to such a proportion where it doesn't need to be. Like, again, if a player doesn't play well, oh, he's garbage, sell him right away. Oh, he doesn't want to be here, well, fuck him, he's not good anyways. It's like, it's that incel.
0 to 100.
Yeah, it's really an incel mentality. Oh, you don't want to sleep with me? Well, good, you're ugly anyways. It's like,
Right.
Oh, you want to play here? Well, fucking whatever. You just go chew your little gum anyways. It's like, relax, brothers. Like,
Yeah.
there's human beings here at the end of it.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why I think like, this is why I want to do this podcast. Like, yes, to highlight what the Brazilian league looks like, but like to highlight more and more, like, these are human beings, y'all. Like, chill. Like, there's a lot more that goes into this than we see as fans. There's still a humanity aspect to it. There's still like a job, like work-life balance. There's still like a toxic environment balance to it. So like, just be considerate of people. Just don't write people off that easily or quickly, and support the people that are on your team, like, holistically as people. Like, there's a difference between like cobrar, like demanding like certain attitudes. Like, sure, if the guy is like playing like, you know, slow-footed and whatever, like, you can tell when players are like, you know, not playing well on purpose, right? There's a difference between like demanding, you know, respect for the shirts and respect for the club, and like just being annoying. And like, I think the Cruzeiro fans are now at the point of just being annoying. And as you said, if you want to demand respect, you got to earn the respect. You got to respect the player too. Where I mean, I do think a lot of the crowd does respect Matheus Pereira, and I think the vocal kind of booers are kind of like, well, see, we respect him, he's not really respecting us, you know. There's got to be a certain like level of mutual respect. But again, let's not write humans off. Like, we're malleable. Like, that's the great thing about humans. Like, we learn, we grow, we get better each and every day. Like,
Yeah.
at 50, at 70, at 90, you're still your brain still has the potential to be getting better. So let's get out of that like habit of writing people off. They do that in the NBA too. Is like, rookie, like, a guy's on his rookie contract. A year in, it's like, no, this guy's trash. Like,
Yeah.
why? He's not Michael Jordan. It's like, and how many times have we seen happen where like a guy will get like thrown out of the league, go to Europe, like, just learn a little bit of maturity and what it means to be a professional, and then come back and kick ass in the league because like, oh shit, yeah, like, I understand what it means to be a professional now, you know?
Yeah.
People need to mature. People need to have life experiences in order to improve.
Yeah. In the NFL and in the NBA especially, like, you get a rookie, like, first overall pick, and you're like, hey, take the worst team in the league and turn it around, you 19-year-old, you 20-year-old. And if you don't do that, you're garbage and we hate you.
Yeah, literally.
Like, yeah.
Yo, so the game just went to, or is going to halftime in like 2 minutes. And
Oh,
it's
dang.
1-1 right now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Who's home right now?
America.
Okay.
But technically it's...
Either way, Cruzeiro has to win.
No, like, technically both teams are playing in their home city.
Right. But they have different stadiums.
The home team. But I'm pretty sure they're playing in the Mineirão.
Oh.
No, it's not. No, they're playing in Independencia, which is...
I went to that stadium.
Yeah, it's America's owned stadium.
It's nice. It's really nice. It's got like it's got 3 walls, and then the back one is just like a view of the city, like the hills and stuff.
Where's what's the neighborhood? It's like, I heard it's called the Horto.
Yes.
And I heard a lot of people, like, I heard actually it's in the middle of the neighborhood. Like it's not
Yeah.
like the
It's like
Mineirão where
it's
it's like
houses,
top of the
residential
hill.
area, and then just like at the top of the hill, there's just a stadium.
Nice, interesting.
Yeah.
And I heard a lot of people go there by subway whenever they can because it's like it's accessible and the parking situation must be
The parking
crazy.
situation was a mess for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Nice. It's interesting that America has a stadium, Atletico now has a stadium that
Yeah.
they've built, and Cruzeiro does not have a stadium.
Yeah.
Cruzeiro
They
uses the Mineirão, which is
mean
like
it.
the legendary
Yeah.
stadium of the city, where the 7-1 match happened.
Oh,
It's not, we
I
don't
want
have
to
to
talk about
bring it
that.
up, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like Cruzeiro has to like rent that out from a consortium built by the city. But
Mm.
that consortium is also clearly Atleticanos, like
Oh,
running
wow.
that. Where like,
Right.
it's happened before where Cruzeiro has been like kind of like kicked out to make room for Atletico games, or
Wow.
Cruzeiro has like had to find a different place to play because there's a Katy Perry concert or a Bruno Mars concert tomorrow,
Mm.
or there was a Bruno Mars concert last week and the grass still shit. Like
Right.
like
It's crazy though, because like if Cruzeiro makes their own stadium and leaves, then the Mineirão, those guys are fucked. Because like, well, you don't have everyone's playing somewhere else. Like, who else is gonna play here? You're just gonna be renting out concerts basically, which are not every Sunday.
it's a very tough kind of like negotiation because as you're absolutely right, both of them really need each other. Cruzeiro needs a big stadium to be able to play in and house their fans. Like I think it fits up like 62 or so thousand people, and like
Yeah, it's huge.
that's huge. And Cruzeiro, like that's a money making, right? Like game ticket sales are money makers for the team. So Cruzeiro needs the Mineirão, but you're absolutely right. Mineirão needs Cruzeiro too. Like
Yeah.
so it's a delicate kind of like, and Cruzeiro has been demanding like, no, you guys need to respect us. Like you need
Hmm.
to respect that we are the like not owners, but quote unquote, this is our stadium, brother. Like
Yeah.
no one's coming here for anything else but games, but
Right.
Cruzeiro games. Like, and you're right. Like Cruzeiro is not in the position I think right now where they can build a stadium. To be quite honest, I don't think they should build a stadium. This stadium exists. It's great. It's beautiful. Like it's a World Cup stadium, right? Like
Hmm.
why do you need to spend money just to be like, no, now I have my own, like I'm not putting up with this bullshit. That's really the draw, right? Like I don't have to put up with this bullshit. Like I'm building my own stadium. Like
Hmm.
but Cruzeiro, like, okay, instead of building that stadium, like put it towards something else. Something more useful, something that's more like immediate. But I definitely understand the value and the thinking behind having your own stadium, right?
Hmm.
Anyways, cool.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Yes.
And for you watching, please don't forget, leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe, and follow Brazilionaires. We're not streaming on Brazilionaires just because it's a new account, but Brazilionaires, you see the at We Are Brazilionaires on the screen there. It's a podcast, it's a location, it's a platform to raise the profile of Brazilian culture globally. Now, obviously, this is going to be from our point of view, which is why you see us talking about Cruzeiro right now. But the whole podcast is designed to bring you into the fold. You, a non-Brazilian person who's been
Hmm.
curious, who's wants to learn more about Brazilian culture. Usually Brazilian people, we can be very insular. We can be very like, oh, if you don't get the joke, like then you're an outsider. Like,
Yeah.
so that's what Brazilionaires podcast and the channel is. We're bringing you into those jokes. We're explaining
Hmm.
things contextually in a way that you can understand. We're putting it in a perspective of someone who has no context of Brazil or has very, very little context of Brazil. We have had the ability and the unique kind of perspective of being born and raised in Brazil, but also raised like outside of Brazil. So we are hoping to be that bridge, to make you an honorary Brazilian, get that stamp on your passport, and just welcome you into our culture in a way that makes sense.